Sergeant Kyle Morrison stood straight and still in the briefing room. The room was on a huge space station that floated high above a planet called Viridian Prime. In front of him, a blue light appeared in the air. The light formed into a picture of a woman. She did not look human. Her skin seemed to glow with a soft light. Her eyes looked like they held stars inside them. Kyle had never seen anything like her before. Commander Victoria Hayes walked back and forth in front of the group. She was in charge of security on the station. Her face was serious as she looked at each person in the room. Kyle stood next to his partner, Lieutenant Danny Chen. They had worked together for 3 years. Danny was good at his job and Kyle trusted him with his life. "Listen carefully," Commander Hayes said. Her voice was strong and clear. "You have been chosen for the most important mission in human history. Princess Zarathiel of the Viridian Empire wants human guards during the Peace Summit. This has never happened before. No alien race has ever asked for human protection." Kyle looked at the picture of the princess again. The Viridians were famous across the galaxy. Everyone knew them as teachers and thinkers. They never fought wars. They never used weapons. Their empire covered 12 different star systems. They ruled everything through talking and agreement. At least that was what the report said. Kyle had read all the files about them before coming to this meeting. "Morrison, you will be the main guard," Hayes continued. She stopped walking and looked directly at Kyle. "The princess asked for someone with combat experience. Your record in the frontier wars makes you the best choice for this job." Kyle nodded his head. "Yes, ma'am," he said. But inside his mind, questions were forming. Why would a princess from a peaceful race need a soldier to protect her? Why not ask for a diplomat or someone who knew about culture and customs? Something about this mission did not make sense. The frontier wars had been hard. Kyle had seen his friends die. He had fought against pirates and raiders who wanted to destroy human colonies. He had learned to stay calm when everything around him was chaos. He had learned to make quick decisions when lives depended on him. But he had never worked with aliens before. Humans kept mostly to themselves in their corner of the galaxy. "There is one more thing," Hayes said. Her face became even more serious. "The Viridians have customs that might seem strange to you. Do not ask the princess direct questions about her nature or about what her people can do. Is that understood?" "Crystal clear, ma'am," Kyle replied. But the warning made him more curious. What were they hiding? What did Hayes know that she was not telling them? After the meeting ended, Kyle and Danny walked together through the white corridors of the station. Their boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Other soldiers passed them, busy with their own duties. The station was huge. It had been built to host the Peace Summit. Representatives from dozens of different alien races would be coming here. "What do you think?" Danny asked. He kept his voice low so others could not hear. "Why do you think they want us?" Kyle shook his head. "I don't know, but I don't like mysteries. We need to be ready for anything." "The files say the Viridians have never fought a war," Danny said. "Not in thousands of years. They just talk to solve their problems. So why do they need guards with combat training?" "Maybe they know something we don't," Kyle said. "Maybe this Peace Summit is more dangerous than anyone is telling us." They reached the security office. Inside, other members of their team were checking weapons and equipment. Kyle picked up his sidearm and checked it carefully. The weapon was clean and loaded. He had carried the same gun through the frontier wars. It had saved his life more than once. The next day, Kyle studied everything he could find about Viridians. He read reports written by human diplomats who had met them. He watched videos of Viridian cities. Everything looked peaceful and beautiful. Their buildings were tall and graceful. Their people moved slowly and spoke softly. They seemed gentle and kind. But Kyle had been a soldier long enough to know that appearances could lie. The most dangerous enemies were often the ones who did not look dangerous. He had learned that lesson the hard way on the frontier. He also read about the Peace Summit. Many different races were coming to talk about trade and borders. Some of these races did not like each other. There had been small fights and disagreements between them. The summit was meant to solve these problems before they became wars. One race in particular worried Kyle. They were called the Kraith. The report said the Kraith were aggressive and ambitious. They wanted to expand their territory. They believed in strength and power. They did not trust races that seemed weak, and they definitely thought the Viridians were weak. Kyle made notes on his datapad. If there was going to be trouble at the summit, the Kraith would probably start it. He needed to watch them carefully. He needed to be ready to protect the princess if anything happened. On the third day, Hayes called him back to her office. She sat behind a desk covered with screens and reports. She looked tired. The summit was only a week away and there was still much to prepare. "Sit down, Morrison," she said. Kyle sat in the chair across from her. "I want to be honest with you. This mission is more important than you know. The Viridians specifically asked for you. They read your service record. They know about the frontier wars. They know you have seen real combat. Why is that important to them?" Kyle asked. "I thought they were peaceful." Hayes was quiet for a moment. She seemed to be choosing her words carefully. "Let me say it this way. The Viridians are old, very old. They have been traveling between stars for longer than humans have existed. In all that time, no one has ever successfully attacked their worlds. No one has ever conquered them. Do you wonder why?" Kyle did wonder. He had thought about it while reading the reports. "I assumed they had strong defenses. Maybe weapons we don't know about." "Maybe," Hayes said. "Or maybe there is another reason, a reason they don't talk about." She leaned forward. "Your job is to protect the princess and observe. Watch everything. Learn everything you can. When you come back, I want a full report on what you see." "You think something is going to happen at the summit?" Kyle said. It was not a question. "I think we should be prepared for anything," Hayes replied. "The galaxy is not as peaceful as it seems. There are old powers and old secrets. Some races know things that others do not. The Viridians are one of those races." Kyle left the office with more questions than answers. But he was a soldier. His job was not to understand everything. His job was to follow orders and keep people safe. He would protect the princess. And he would watch carefully to learn the truth. The day before the princess arrived, Kyle could not sleep. He lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow his mission would begin. Tomorrow he would meet Princess Zarathiel. Tomorrow he would start to learn the secrets that the Viridians kept hidden. He did not know it yet, but everything he believed about the galaxy was about to change. The peaceful Viridians were not what they seemed. And the truth, when he finally learned it, would shake the foundations of everything humanity thought they knew about their place among the stars. Kyle closed his eyes and tried to rest. He would need all his strength for what was coming. The mission was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same again. The diplomatic ship arrived exactly on time. Kyle and Danny stood at the entrance to the docking bay. Their uniforms were perfect. Not a single wrinkle showed on the dark blue fabric. Their weapons hung at their sides, visible but not threatening. They had practiced this moment many times. Everything had to go smoothly. The airlock door opened with a soft hiss. White mist poured out into the bay as the pressure equalized. Then she appeared. Princess Zarathiel stepped through the doorway and Kyle felt his breath catch in his throat. She was smaller than he expected. The top of her head barely reached his shoulder. Her skin had a strange quality to it. It seemed to shift colors between pale blue and silver as she moved. But it was her eyes that captured his attention. They were large and dark, with tiny points of light scattered through them like stars in space. When she looked at him, Kyle felt like she could see right through him. Like she could read every thought in his head. "Sergeant Morrison," she said. Her voice was beautiful. It sounded like music, like wind chimes moving in a gentle breeze. "I am pleased to meet you. Your species fascinates me." Kyle bowed slightly, the way the protocol training had taught him. "The honor is mine, Your Highness. Welcome to the diplomatic station. Please call me Zara," she said. A small smile appeared on her face. "We will be spending much time together. There is no need for such formal titles between us." She walked past him into the station. 3 other Viridians followed behind her. They must be her attendants, Kyle thought. They moved with the same grace as the princess. Their feet seemed to barely touch the ground. Danny fell into step beside Kyle as they followed the Viridians through the corridor. Then the princess stopped suddenly. She turned around to face Kyle directly. The smile was gone from her face. Her expression was serious now, almost grave. "Tell me, Sergeant, have you killed before?" she asked. The question hit Kyle like a punch. Next to him, Danny's hand moved toward his weapon out of pure instinct. Kyle kept his own hand still, but his mind was racing. What kind of question was that? Why would a peaceful alien princess ask about killing? "In combat, yes, ma'am," Kyle answered carefully. "In defense of my unit and our mission." Zara stared at him for a long moment. Something changed in her eyes. For just a second, Kyle saw something else there, something that was not peaceful or gentle, something that looked hungry, predatory. Then it vanished and her serene expression returned. "Good," she said simply. "That will be important in the days to come." She turned and continued walking. Kyle and Danny exchanged worried glances but said nothing. They followed the princess to her quarters. The rooms were large and decorated with soft fabrics and comfortable furniture. Security cameras watched every corner. Kyle had checked them himself earlier that day. "I will rest now," Zara said. "We can speak more tomorrow, Sergeant Morrison." She looked at him one more time. "I am glad you are here. I think you are exactly what I need." Kyle and Danny took up positions outside the door. For the next 4 hours, they stood guard while the princess rested. Other security teams would relieve them later. They would work in shifts, making sure someone was always watching. "That question she asked," Danny said quietly. "About killing. That was strange." "Everything about this is strange," Kyle replied. "But we have our orders. We protect her and we watch." Over the next week, Kyle saw the princess every day. She attended meetings and diplomatic functions. She spoke with representatives from other races. She was always polite and graceful. Everyone who met her seemed charmed by her gentle manner and kind words. But Kyle noticed things. Small things. The way her eyes followed everyone in the room. The way she positioned herself so she could always see the exits. The way her attendants spread out to cover different angles. These were not the habits of a peaceful diplomat. These were the habits of someone expecting danger. Someone who knew how to fight. The princess also asked Kyle many questions. She wanted to know about human military tactics. She asked about Earth's history of warfare. She wanted to know how humans dealt with threats and enemies. At first, Kyle was careful with his answers. But Commander Hayes had told him to observe and report, so he answered honestly. "Your people fight well," Zara said one evening. They were in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "You adapt quickly to new situations. You do not give up even when the odds are against you." "Humans are stubborn," Kyle said with a small smile. "We don't know when to quit." "That is a valuable quality," Zara said. "More valuable than you know. Can I ask you something, Your Highness?" Kyle said, "Zara." She corrected him again. "And yes, you may ask. Why did you request human guards? Your people have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. You must have your own security, your own ways of staying safe. Why ask for us?" Zara was silent for a long moment. She kept looking out at the stars. Finally, she spoke. "Because I needed to see something, Sergeant Morrison. I needed to see if humans could stand next to a Viridian and remain steady. If they could face the unknown without breaking." "I don't understand," Kyle said. "You will," Zara replied. "Soon, you will understand everything." On the 8th day, Kyle found Zara alone in the observation deck. It was late in the station's night cycle. Most people were asleep. But Kyle could not sleep. Something felt wrong. He had learned to trust his instincts on the frontier, and his instincts were screaming at him now. "You feel it too," Zara said without turning around. She had known he was there without looking. "The danger that is coming." Kyle walked to stand beside her at the window. "Is there going to be an attack?" He asked directly. "Yes," Zara said. "No hesitation, no doubt. The summit will be attacked. The Kraith Dominion has decided that peace does not serve their goals. They want to expand their territory. They see the Viridians as weak because we do not make war. They plan to kill as many delegates as possible and blame it on an accident." Kyle's hand went to his communicator. "We need to alert command immediately. We need to evacuate the station." "No," Zara said calmly. Her hand reached out and touched his arm. Her skin was cool and smooth. "They will not believe you. The Kraith are clever. They have hidden their plans well. Any warning will seem like paranoia, and if we evacuate, they will simply attack somewhere else, somewhere with less security. Then what do we do?" Kyle demanded. Frustration and fear mixed together in his chest. "We can't just let them attack. We will be ready," Zara said. "You will be there, Sergeant Morrison. You and Lieutenant Chen. When the moment comes, you will see what the galaxy has forgotten about my people. You will see the truth that we have kept hidden for thousands of years." "What truth?" Kyle asked. But he was starting to understand, starting to see the pattern. "What are you?" Zara turned to face him. In the starlight, her form seemed different somehow. Less solid, like she was made of light and shadow instead of flesh. Her eyes held that predatory look again. But this time it did not fade. "Tell me, Sergeant, do you know why the Viridian Empire spans 12 star systems, yet we have no military? Why no race has ever successfully invaded our worlds? Why no one has ever conquered us despite thousands of years of history?" Kyle shook his head slowly. His heart was beating faster. Some part of him already knew the answer. Some part of him had seen the clues all week. "Because we don't need an army," Zara said. Her smile was not gentle now. It was sharp, dangerous. "We are the army. Every Viridian you have ever seen. Every gentle scholar and peaceful diplomat, we are all weapons. We are all warriors. We choose peace, Sergeant Morrison. We are not forced into it by weakness." Kyle stared at her. Everything made sense now. The questions about combat. The way she moved and watched. The strange warnings from Commander Hayes. The Viridians were not helpless teachers. They were something else entirely. "What happens at the summit?" he asked. "The Kraith will attack," Zara said. "And I will show them why it is foolish to mistake peace for weakness. And you, Sergeant, you will stand witness. You will see what we really are, and then you will carry that knowledge back to your people. Because humanity needs to know the truth. The galaxy is not safe, and the old powers are stirring again." Kyle did not sleep that night. He stayed at his post thinking about everything Zara had told him. In 2 days the summit would begin, and everything would change. The Peace Summit took place in the Grand Hall at the center of the station. The hall was enormous, with a ceiling that stretched up 3 stories high. Representatives from 47 different species filled the space. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien, with forms that defied description. Kyle had never seen so many different races in one place. Kyle and Danny stood behind Princess Zara. Their position gave them a clear view of the entire hall. Other security teams were scattered throughout the space. Everyone was on high alert. But the morning passed without incident. Speeches were made. Treaties were discussed. Everything seemed normal. Kyle kept watching the Kraith delegation. There were 6 of them, tall and muscular with gray skin and red eyes. They sat near the back of the hall, listening but not participating much. They looked bored, but Kyle noticed how their eyes kept moving, scanning the room, checking exits and security positions. At exactly 14:47 station time, the lights flickered. Kyle's hand went to his weapon immediately. This was wrong. The station had backup power systems. The lights should never flicker. Emergency lights should have come on instantly, but they did not. Instead, the hall went completely dark. Kyle activated his tactical visor and switched to infrared vision. The world turned into shades of red and orange as the visor showed him heat signatures. What he saw made his blood run cold. 24 Kraith soldiers had appeared in the hall. They must have been using cloaking technology to hide themselves. Now their cloaks were failing as they powered up their weapons. Kyle could see the distinctive glow of energy weapons charging. In seconds, those weapons would fire and dozens of delegates would die. "Stay down," Kyle shouted. He pulled his sidearm and moved to cover. Danny was already moving, taking position on the other side of the princess. Their training took over. All those hours of practice and drills paid off as they moved without thinking. Then Kyle saw something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Something that changed everything he thought he knew about the universe. Princess Zara stood calmly in the center of the chaos. She did not duck for cover. She did not run. She just stood there waiting. Her 3 attendants moved to flank her, and all 4 Viridians began to change. Their skin rippled like water. The soft glow faded, replaced by something darker, harder. Their bodies transformed before Kyle's eyes. The delicate, gentle forms twisted and grew. Their skin became like armor, metallic and strong. Their fingers extended, becoming long claws that gleamed in the emergency lighting. Their elegant robes tore and fell away as their bodies expanded and changed. But Zara's transformation was the most terrifying. She grew taller, her spine stretching and elongating. Her limbs became longer, more angular, more powerful. Her face, once beautiful and serene, split vertically down the middle. Inside that split were rows of teeth made from something that looked like crystal. They caught the light and glittered like diamonds. Her eyes multiplied. 4 became 8, then 16, spreading across her face and the sides of her head. Each eye moved independently, giving her the ability to see in every direction at once. Nothing could sneak up on her now. Nothing could hide from that alien gaze. From her back, blade-like appendages emerged. They looked like swords made from bone or metal. A dark liquid dripped from their edges. Where the liquid hit the floor, it hissed and smoked, eating through the metal like acid. Viridian battle form, Danny whispered beside Kyle. His voice shook with fear and disbelief. The old files mentioned it, but everyone said it was just a myth, a legend. Kyle could not speak. He could only watch. His tactical training told him to move, to act, to do something, but his mind was frozen by what he was seeing. This was not just a transformation. This was evolution as a weapon. This was a race that had turned their entire biology into an instrument of war. The Kraith soldiers opened fire. Bolts of superheated plasma filled the air. Each bolt carried enough energy to vaporize a human instantly. Kyle had seen what plasma weapons could do. He had seen soldiers turn to ash in seconds, but Zara moved. She moved faster than anything Kyle had ever seen. One moment she was standing still. The next moment she was across the room 30 meters away, her clawed hand buried in a Kraith soldier's chest. The soldier's armor might as well have been paper. Zara's claws punched through it without slowing down. She moved to the next target. Her blade appendages whirled through the air in patterns too fast for human eyes to follow. The acidic liquid they secreted dissolved weapons and armor alike. Kraith soldiers screamed and fell. Some tried to run. None of them made it far. Her 3 attendants were just as deadly. They moved with perfect coordination, like dancers performing a routine they had practiced for years. No, not years. Centuries. These were ancient warriors who had been fighting since before humans learned to make fire. They were not just warriors. They were hunters. Apex predators. Every movement was calculated for maximum efficiency. No energy was wasted. No strikes missed their targets. They had evolved to kill, and they were perfect at it. Sergeant. Zara's voice filled Kyle's mind. She was speaking directly into his thoughts somehow, some kind of telepathy. Protect the delegates. This is what I brought you for. Your people's courage in the face of the impossible. The telepathic words snapped Kyle out of his shock. He had a job to do. He pushed down his fear and moved into action. Danny was already moving, shepherding terrified delegates toward the emergency exits. Kyle joined him. A Kraith soldier appeared in front of them, his weapon raised. Kyle fired 3 times. His bullets found their mark. The soldier fell. Kyle did not stop moving. He grabbed a delegate who had frozen in panic and pulled them toward safety. More plasma bolts flashed through the air, but most of them were aimed at the Viridians now. The Kraith had realized that the humans were not the main threat. They focused their fire on Zara and her attendants. It did not help them. Zara was everywhere at once. She moved through the Kraith soldiers like death itself. Her multiple eyes tracked every target. Her blade appendages struck with surgical precision. The acidic liquid ate through everything it touched, and through it all she made no sound. No battle cries. No grunts of effort. She was silent and focused. A machine designed for one purpose only. Kyle saw a Kraith soldier trying to flank Zara from behind. He aimed and fired. The soldier stumbled. Zara spun and finished him off without breaking her rhythm. She had known Kyle was there, had known he would protect her back. That was why she wanted human guards. Not because she needed protection, but because she needed partners who would not run away when they saw what she really was. The battle lasted 3 minutes. 3 minutes of controlled violence. 3 minutes of perfect lethality. When it was over, 24 Kraith soldiers lay dead or dying on the floor. The 4 Viridians stood among them, slowly reverting to their normal forms. Zara's transformation reversed itself. Her body compressed back down to its smaller size. Her monstrous features retracted and vanished. Her face sealed itself back together. Her eyes reduced from 16 to 4. The blade appendages withdrew into her back. Within seconds, she looked like the delicate princess Kyle had met a week ago. But Kyle would never be able to see her the same way again. Now he knew what hid beneath that gentle exterior. Now he knew why the Viridians had no army. They did not need one. Zara turned to face him. Her skin was clean. The acidic secretion had dissolved all the blood and gore. Not a single drop remained on her. She looked as fresh and peaceful as if she had just woken from a nap. "Thank you for your assistance, Sergeant Morrison," she said. Her voice was calm and musical again, as if nothing unusual had just happened. Kyle stared at her. His weapon was still raised. His hands were shaking. His mind was struggling to process everything he had just witnessed. All the reports had been wrong. All the files had been lies. The Viridians were not peaceful philosophers. They were warriors who chose not to fight. What are you? Kyle asked. His voice came out rough and harsh. Zara smiled. It was a gentle smile, a kind smile. But Kyle could never forget what he had seen. Could never forget the monster that lived inside her. Peaceful, Zara said simply. We are a peaceful people, Sergeant. We simply choose to be peaceful. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We choose restraint. Every day we choose not to be what you just saw. That is what makes us strong. Around them, other security teams were rushing into the hall. Commander Hayes appeared, her face pale with shock. She had seen the security camera footage. She had watched the entire battle. Now she stared at the Viridians with new understanding and new fear. Kyle lowered his weapon slowly. The mission was complete. He had protected the princess, but he had also learned the truth. And that truth would change everything for humanity. The galaxy was not what they thought it was. Peace was not the absence of violence. It was the choice to restrain violence. And some races were far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. The attack on the Peace Summit sent shockwaves through the entire galaxy. Every news channel broadcast images of the dead Kraith soldiers. Diplomatic channels buzzed with activity. The Kraith Dominion tried to deny everything, but the evidence was clear. They had attempted mass murder in front of witnesses from dozens of races, but the bigger story was about the Viridians. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy had seen them fight. Security footage spread across every civilized world. Beings everywhere watched in shock as the peaceful philosophers transformed into deadly warriors. Old assumptions crumbled. Old beliefs died. Kyle sat in a secured debriefing room. The walls were thick metal, designed to block all signals and prevent anyone from listening. Across from him sat Princess Zara. She looked exactly the same as when he first met her. Small and delicate, gentle and kind. But Kyle could never unsee what he had witnessed. Could never forget what she really was. Commander Hayes stood by the wall. Her arms were crossed. Her expression was carefully neutral, but Kyle could see the tension in her shoulders. She was afraid. Everyone on the station was afraid now. They had learned that monsters were real and sometimes monsters looked beautiful. Danny was in the medical bay. The doctor said he would be fine physically. A few minor burns from plasma fire, some bruises. But psychologically he was struggling. He had nightmares about transforming Viridians, about crystalline teeth and multiplying eyes. The counselors said he would need time to process what he had seen. You knew this would happen, Kyle said. His voice was flat, emotionless. You knew they would attack. We suspected, Zara replied. She sat calmly, her hands folded in her lap. The Kraith have been testing our borders for years. Small provocations, seeing how we would respond. We knew they would try something eventually. You used us, Kyle said. Anger colored his words now. You used the summit. Used all those delegates. You could have stopped this. You could have warned people. And would they have believed us? Zara asked gently. Would the Kraith have admitted their plans? No, they would have hidden. Waited, attacked somewhere else when security was not ready. This way we caught them in the act. This way the entire galaxy saw their treachery. People could have died, Kyle said. But they did not, Zara replied. Because we were there. Because you were there. No innocent being was harmed. Only those who came to kill were killed themselves. Why? Commander Hayes spoke for the first time. Her voice was sharp. Why reveal yourselves now? Your people have hidden your true nature for thousands of years. Everyone thought you were helpless. Why show the truth now? Zara stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, stars shone in the endless darkness of space. She was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with sadness. Because the galaxy is changing, Commander. New threats are emerging from the dark places between stars. Threats that even my people cannot face alone. We need allies. We need partners. And for that, we need honesty. She turned to face them. Humanity is young. Only 50 years since we made first contact. Your people are aggressive. You fight among yourselves. You have wars and conflicts. Many older races look down on you for this. But we see something else, Zara continued. We see a race that adapts. That innovates. That never gives up. You face impossible odds and you find a way through. You see a problem and you immediately start working on solutions. That is rare in the galaxy. Most races become comfortable. They stop growing. But not humans. What threats? Kyle asked. What are you talking about? Zara's expression became grave. The devourer swarms. Ancient entities from the galactic core. They are not truly alive, not in the way we understand life. They are more like a force of nature, hungry, consuming. They move in cycles, emerging every 10,000 years to feed on sentient life. That's impossible, Hayes said. We would have records, history, evidence. The last time they came was 9,800 years ago, Zara said. Long before humanity existed. Long before most current races existed. Those who survive do not speak of it. The memories are too painful. The loss is too great. She gestured and a holographic display appeared in the air. It showed a map of the galaxy. Half of it was marked in red. They consumed half the known galaxy before we stopped them. Thousands of worlds. Trillions of lives. The Viridians and our allies fought for 3 centuries to push them back. Kyle stared at the display. If what she was saying was true, then humanity's entire understanding of history was wrong. Why doesn't anyone know about this? Because we do not speak of it, Zara said. Because the young races cannot handle such knowledge. They would panic. They would fight among themselves over resources. They would waste time and energy preparing for a threat that might not come in their lifetimes. So you lie to them, Hayes said. You pretend to be peaceful. You let them think the galaxy is safe. We maintain order, Zara corrected. We watch the dark places. We guard the borders. We keep the young races safe while they grow and develop. Yes, it is a deception, but it is a necessary one. And humanity? Kyle asked. Why tell us? Zara looked at him directly. Because you are different. Because I needed to see if humans could stand next to a Viridian in battle and not break. If they could witness our true nature and remain steady. She smiled slightly. You fired your weapon 3 times during the attack, Sergeant Morrison. I watched you. All 3 shots were aimed at threats approaching from angles I could not immediately see. You did not freeze. You did not run. You adapted your tactics to support me without being asked. That is what humanity offers, Zara continued. The ability to face the impossible and immediately start solving problems. We need that. When the swarms come again, we will need every advantage. Human creativity, human stubbornness, human refusal to accept defeat. How long do we have? Hayes asked. A century. Perhaps more. Perhaps less. The cycles are not exact, but the sensors at the galaxy's edge have detected stirrings, movement. The swarms are waking from their long sleep. The room fell silent. Kyle's mind was racing. Everything had changed in the space of a few days. The safe, predictable galaxy was gone. Now he knew about ancient threats and hidden guardians, about races that pretended to be weak but were actually warriors beyond human imagination. What do you want from us? Kyle asked finally. Partnership, Zara said. I am returning to Viridian Prime in 2 days. I am formally requesting that Sergeant Morrison accompany me as a cultural liaison. There is much your people need to learn. Much we need to share. Why me? Kyle asked. Because you have seen what we are and you are still here, Zara said. Because you did not run or break. Because you proved that humans can work alongside Viridians. You will come to my world. You will see our history. You will learn about the swarms and how we fight them. And then you will return to your people with that knowledge. What if I refuse? Kyle asked. Zara's eyes held that predatory gleam for just a moment. Then I will find another human. Someone else who is willing to face the truth. But I hope you will come, Kyle Morrison. You asked me what I really am. Come with me and I will show you everything. The old battlefields, the memorial gardens, the cost of peace and why we choose it anyway. She walked to the door. You have 1 day to decide. Think carefully. This choice will change your life, but it will also change the future of your entire species. After she left, Kyle and Hayes sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Hayes spoke. This is your decision, Morrison. I can't order you to go. But if even half of what she says is true, then humanity needs someone on the ground, someone who can report back accurately about what the Viridians really are. Kyle thought about everything he had seen, the transformation, the battle, the casual way Zara had ended lives, but he also thought about what she had said. About ancient threats, about the need for allies. I'll go, he said finally. Someone needs to know what we're really dealing with out here. Hayes nodded. Then get some rest. You leave in 2 days. And Morrison, when you come back, I want to know everything, every detail, every secret. Humanity needs to prepare for what's coming. Kyle left the debriefing room and walked through the quiet corridors of the station. Most people were asleep. The station had returned to normal operations, but nothing felt normal anymore. He had seen behind the curtain, had glimpsed the truth that most beings never knew. He thought about Danny in the medical bay struggling with nightmares. He thought about all the humans back on Earth, living their lives without knowing about the threats in the darkness. They deserved to know. They deserved the truth. In 2 days he would go to Viridian Prime. He would learn their secrets. He would see their true history. And then he would bring that knowledge back to humanity. Whatever the cost, the mission had changed. It was no longer about guarding a princess. It was about preparing his entire species for a war that was coming. A war against ancient horrors from the dark between stars. Kyle looked out a viewport at the endless expanse of space. Somewhere out there the swarms were stirring, and humanity needed to be ready. The journey to Viridian Prime took 6 days. The ship traveled through corridors of faster-than-light space, bending reality itself to cross impossible distances. Kyle spent most of the trip in his assigned quarters. He had access to all the files humanity had ever collected about the Viridians. He read them all, seeing now how wrong they were, how much they had missed. On the 7th day, Zara called him to her observation chamber. The room had a large viewport that showed the space outside. Through it, Kyle could see a planet that took his breath away. Viridian Prime was covered in forests that looked silver in the light of the system's twin stars. Seas of crystal reflected the sunlight like mirrors. Cities of graceful towers rose from the landscape, beautiful and ancient. "Welcome to my home," Zara said. "In a few hours, you will be the first human to officially set foot on Viridian soil. There are things you must understand before we land." She waved her hand and a holographic display appeared. It showed a timeline stretching back millions of years. "My people were not always as you see us now. Once we were pure predators. We evolved on a death world where only the strongest survived. Every Viridian was a hunter, a killer. We conquered our planet through violence." The display shifted, showing ancient Viridians. They looked even more monstrous than the battle form Kyle had witnessed. All teeth and claws and blade-like appendages. They were nightmare creatures. "Then we discovered spaceflight," Zara continued. "We found other races. Young races. Weak races. And we had a choice. We could continue as conquerors, destroying and consuming everything we found. Or we could evolve. Become something more." "How did you choose peace?" Kyle asked. "Through discipline," Zara said. "Through thousands of years of philosophy and meditation. Through understanding that true strength is choosing peace when you are capable of war. But the capacity for violence never leaves us. It is in our genes, in our very biology. Every day, every Viridian must choose to suppress it." The display showed Viridian cities. They looked peaceful and beautiful. But Kyle could see it now. The hidden defensive positions, the strategic placement of buildings, the multiple escape routes from every public space. Their entire culture was built around controlled potential, around being ready to transform at any moment. "When the devourer swarms came, we were forced to remember what we had been," Zara said. Her voice was heavy with old pain. "We became warriors again, hunters again. For 3 centuries we fought across 1,000 worlds. We held the line while younger races evacuated behind us. Many of my people could not change back afterward," she continued. "They had been in battle form for too long. The violence had consumed them. They stay in that form now, guarding our borders in the deep dark, making sure nothing comes through that should not." She turned to face Kyle directly. "That is what I wanted you to understand, Sergeant. Peace is not weakness. It is the hardest thing in the galaxy to maintain. Every day I choose not to be the monster you saw. Every day my people make that same choice. We do it because we remember what happens when we do not." The ship began its descent. Through the viewport, Kyle could see massive structures rising from the silver forests. Monuments carved from crystal and stone. Each one was hundreds of meters tall. "The memorials," Zara said quietly. "Each one represents a world that fell during the last swarm. We do not forget our failures. They remind us why we fight, why we choose peace whenever possible." As the ship landed, Kyle felt the weight of what he was seeing. This was not just tourism. This was an invitation into secrets that most of the galaxy never learned. The comfortable lies were being stripped away, revealing the harsh truth underneath. A delegation of Viridians waited at the landing site. They wore formal robes and their expressions were serene. But their eyes were old, ancient. These were beings who had lived for centuries, who had seen civilizations rise and fall. These are the Council of Guardians, Zara said, introducing Kyle to each in turn. They lead our people in maintaining the watch. One of the elders stepped forward. His skin had taken on a permanent metallic sheen. Kyle realized this one had been in battle form for so long that he could no longer fully transform back. "Welcome, young human," the elder said. "Your people stand at a crossroads. You can remain children believing the galaxy is safe, or you can grow up and learn the price of that safety." "My people choose knowledge," Kyle said firmly. "We need to understand what is really out there." The elder nodded approvingly. "Then come. We will show you the old battlefields. We will teach you the signs of the swarms. When you return to your people, you will carry the burden all guardians must bear, the knowledge of what lurks in the dark." Over the next month, Kyle learned. He trained with Viridian warriors, learning to recognize the signs of transformation. He learned how to fight alongside them, how to support them without getting in their way. He studied the history of the swarms, watching recordings of battles that had lasted for decades. He met the border guards, Viridians who had stayed in battle form for centuries. They were terrifying to look at, but they spoke with wisdom and patience. They taught him about the swarms, how they moved, how they thought, how they could be fought. He learned about the other guardian races, the Thorians, beings made of living crystal who could manipulate gravity itself, the Krell, who shared a single mind across billions of bodies and could predict enemy movements through quantum calculation, the Nexari, beings of pure energy who powered the defense stations at the galaxy's edge, all of them working together, all of them maintaining the illusion of safety for the younger races, all of them standing guard against the darkness. "Why keep it secret?" Kyle asked Zara one evening. They stood on a balcony overlooking a memorial garden. "Why not tell everyone?" "Because most beings cannot handle the truth," Zara said sadly. "They would panic, fight among themselves, waste resources preparing for threats that might not come in their lifetimes. Better to let them believe they are safe while we who know better stand watch." "That seems arrogant," Kyle challenged. "Deciding what others can handle." "Perhaps," Zara admitted. "But it is the burden we chose when we evolved beyond simple violence. Someone must watch the dark places. Someone must remember. And if that makes us arrogant, we accept that cost." She looked at him with those ancient eyes. "But humanity is different. You fight. You always have. You will not panic when you learn about the swarms. You will immediately start preparing, innovating, creating solutions we cannot imagine. That is why we need you, not just as warriors but as partners." On Kyle's last day on Viridian Prime, Zara gave him a gift. It was a small crystal that glowed with inner light. "This contains all our data on the swarms, their patterns, their weaknesses, everything we learned in 3 centuries of war. Share it with your military, your scientists. Begin preparing your people." "What about the other young races?" Kyle asked. "We will approach them in time," Zara said. "But humanity first. You proved yourselves. You saw monsters and you stood your ground. That is what we need." Kyle held the crystal carefully. "What happens now?" "Now you go home," Zara said. "You report to your superiors. You begin preparing your species, and I will continue building alliances, recruiting other races who might be ready for the truth." "Will I see you again?" Kyle asked. Zara smiled warmly. "Oh yes, Sergeant Morrison. This is only the beginning." Humanity and the Viridians standing together, former predators and new warriors guarding the galaxy against the dark. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You asked me what I really am. Now you know. I'm a monster who chooses to be a guardian. I am a warrior who fights for peace. I am the nightmare that stands between civilization and the true horrors of the universe." "And what am I?" Kyle asked. "You are hope," Zara said. "You are proof that young races can learn, can adapt, can stand beside the old guardians. You are the first step toward a galaxy that can defend itself when we ancient ones grow too weary to continue." Kyle returned to Earth 3 days later. He delivered his report to Coalition Command. They listened with growing horror and disbelief. He showed them the crystal and its data on ancient battles and apocalyptic threats. And he watched as humanity began to change. Research programs started. New military doctrines were written. Alliances formed with the Viridians and their fellow guardians. The comfortable illusion of a safe galaxy was over. Now humanity knew the truth. Kyle was promoted to captain. He became head of the new Guardian Liaison program. Over the next decade, he traveled between human and Viridian space. learning and teaching and preparing, because Zara had been right. Humanity did not panic. They got to work. When the sensors at the galaxy's edge detected the first stirrings of the ancient enemy, when the devourer swarms finally woke and began their march toward inhabited space, humanity was ready. They stood alongside the Viridians, the Thorians, the Krell, and the Nexari, old guardians and new warriors united against the dark. In the command center of the defense fleet, Captain Kyle Morrison stood beside Princess Zara, watching as the first wave of swarms entered sensor range. "Are you afraid?" Zara asked. "Terrified," Kyle admitted. "But ready." Zara nodded. Her form began to shift, transforming into the battle form Kyle had first witnessed years ago. Around them, thousands of Viridians did the same, becoming the monsters they had spent millennia learning to suppress. "Then let us begin," she said. "Let us show the darkness that the Guardians still stand watch. That peace is not weakness, that we choose restraint. But when forced to fight, we are unstoppable." The battle for the galaxy began, and humanity, assigned to guard the alien princess, had learned exactly what she really was. A guardian, a warrior, a monster who chose to be more, and they had learned what they needed to become. The same,